Talk to me Tuesday on Monday, September 13th, 2021. I'm filming tonight because I feel like it's the only way I'll get a video made. Some of you know that I did finish Quilt recently, and I posted some pictures in a locked post previously, but now that he has received it, I'm going to throw those at the end of the video. My brother-in-law is currently battling cancer of the lungs and bone cancer. He was just recently diagnosed, and he started chemo 2 weeks ago, and he's got another treatment this week. And I decided to make him a quilt. So I used the, I think it's like tumbling charms, falling charms pattern. I watched a little bit of a tutorial from Missouri Star on YouTube, and looked up a couple of other written tutorials and stuff for it, and it's pretty simple, so that gave me enough info to get it going. I used a Island Batiks charm pack that I think Susan sent me a long time ago. It was all blues, batiks. I did add several from my stash. I was able to cut like, I think 5. So I ended up with 5 of each. I believe I ended up with 5 of each print. And like I said, those, and then I just used whites out of my stash, 3 different whites, so that I could complete it. And I used that as the top, and then my daughter helped me by picking out some really super soft fleece for the back. Because it was all, you know, oceany turquoise and blues and white, I had intended to name it Island Waves because they live on South Padre Island, but I forgot when I was making the label. So I did the label on my Cricut using heat transfer vinyl and some ribbon that I had on hand. So, and I pressed the ribbon and then transferred the vinyl, cut it on the Cricut, and fused it to the ribbon, and it worked great. That way I had finished edges, so I only had to sew in the ends of the ribbon, and it was going to an adult, so it's not like he's going to get his fingers caught in the ribbon or anything. So sewed it into the binding, and that worked out really well. That will not be the last label I probably do with heat transfer vinyl, because it worked out super easy and it worked out well. I received that this past weekend. I also made my sister a couple of pillowcases. She had asked for king-size pillowcases, and I don't have any king-size pillows that I could test them out on, so she said they are the flap. I used a new tutorial from Michael Miller Fabrics that has the flap on it, and the flap, she said, was a little bit small, and I think that's because the tutorial was for a standard size pillow, and I changed the numbers around with Jennifer O's help for a king size, but I forgot to change the size of the flap for the tutorial. And yeah, so that made sense that it was a little bit too small. But they came out really cute, and I'll probably do it again for my pillows here. What else? Let's see. It was a long day, so trust me, it was a Monday. Oh, I did turn in a quilt to Project Linus, the puppy quilt, and I wasn't able to get it outside to take photos, so I just laid it over the quilt frame. You guys have seen the top before, and I got it turned in to Project Linus this past weekend. I'll insert pictures of that at the end also. And then yesterday I finished binding. I bound a couple more quilts, Project Linus quilts, that you've seen the tops for. The car quilt. And I'll insert pictures of these at the end too. But oops, upside down. Car quilt. And the one that, the top that Susan sent me, and she sent me the back for it as well. The Charms on Point, which is another Missouri Star tutorial. Is this right side up? This is the right side up. Doesn't really matter, but that one. So that's finished. I'll put pictures of the front and back there. Something I did want to show you is, I don't know why I've never tried this before, but Jennifer O and I were talking about the ribbon labels and things like that and sewing into the binding. And I've been hand sewing my labels on, and I don't know why. Sometimes I would put the end of it in the binding as I'm sewing it down to the back, and then just hand stitch the other two corners. And she mentioned that she just machine stitches on a couple of sides on hers. And I thought, you know, if I place it, I used glue stick, washable glue stick, to stick it where I wanted it. But I brought it a little more than 1/8 of an inch away from the corner, the bottom right corner. And stuck it there so it wouldn't move. And then go up from the from where the binding is, stitch up here and down here across, so that the sides that aren't caught in the binding will be stitched down, and then the rest got stitched down in the binding. So easy. And I just did that prior to starting the binding of each one. So those are done. Those will be turned in October at the meeting. At the meeting, as I do, because I don't need any fabric, I brought home more fabric. And I actually brought some last month that I didn't even show you. Somebody donated a bunch of that Alexander Henry, you know, the sexy firemen and cowboys, etc. And we can't use them for the kids' quilts. I don't know why. Some teenager might really like them, boy or girl. I mean, but they felt they were inappropriate. So she sent it home with me. Like, what am I going to do with it? So I might use them to make some pillowcases to donate to Silver Horizons, which is a thrift store here in town that funds a program that provides food, groceries, and assistance with utilities for low-income seniors in the area. So I might just make something to donate to that, because they could sell it as gifts during the holidays or something like that. But I did bring home a bunch of fabric, yes, this past weekend. Somebody handed me this and just said, I thought of you when I saw this. And I'm like, I'm not really sure what to think about that, but probably just because I like weird things. I don't know. You remember the Project Linus mystery quilt that was the sweet shop, and I made like a cake. The mystery quilt had like a cake pattern, and it had donuts and cookies. I made the wrapped candies, and I made the cake, and I made the donuts, and then I never made any more of the blocks. So somebody donated this fabric, and I thought this would be perfect to just cut some squares, or to just sort of, you know, intersperse around the ones I had done. It's just a bunch of delicious cakes. And then I could just make a quilt that's not the pattern, you know, but is all, you know, bakery stuff, and call it done. Also some candies. So I'm going to use that to turn that into at least hopefully a toddler size quilt, maybe a baby size quilt, I don't know. This was just, there was quite some good, like, size pieces of fabric. So this, oh, I didn't realize that was multiple pieces of fabric. I just thought this was pretty, and I figured it could be used to piece some backing, but clearly I'll be cutting some blocks out of it as well. I just kept coming back to this one, and so I finally took it. It has a lot of text on it, and old-timey bicycles and bird cages, and it says Fresh Flower Boutique and things like that. Farmer's Market and other things like that. This was a yard cut, and it's got different herbs, but I was thinking it might be good to piece into the back of the wildflowers top that I did a while back. Somebody donated these incomplete panels. This one, it's just this, but all of the squares are intact, so I can cut them into that size square. I'm thinking I'll cut it into squares and then cut these into squares and somehow piece them together. They have different background, but they have a lot of the same colors in them. And so much like the wildflower quilt, I think I can make them play nicely together. I just thought it was a good tonal. It's just sort of yellow-brown flowers. I figured if nothing else, it could make up a big chunk of a back. Or it would be good binding. I just grabbed this because it was a pretty tonal. Yeah, this is a pretty good hunk of fabric here. Probably at least a yard, if not more. Maybe a couple yards. It's not that pretty, but you know what? It's very busy, so it'll be a good back. Another good tonal, and I have a thing for purple, so I think that's another at least a yard. This was another one that I just kept coming back to, so I ended up grabbing it. This looks like at least, maybe a yard. That'll be good in a back. Just a good tonal gray, probably about a yard. It says it's 1 3/4 yard, so that'll make a good back. And it's like a wax resist fabric, so it's a little thick, but it'll still be a good back, I think, if I can ever get it untied. But this is what it looks like. This is just a solid gray. There's a lot of it, but it's a good, could be good for sashing for something. This is a Robert Kaufman ombre that I just thought was really cool, and I couldn't pass this up. I might have to put it with the Roswell blocks. Although it would make a pretty cool back too. Just as it is for a baby quilt, that would be pretty. Isn't that gorgeous? And it has little stars. I don't know if you can see those. This says 2 yards. I haven't opened it up. But I was thinking back with this also. It looks like a tapestry, but it's a huge print. So I was thinking back for this. But isn't that pretty? I love that dark, dark purple. And 2 yards, you can't beat that, so. That'll be a good back. A lot of these seem to play nicely together also, so that'll be good. So that's it for me. I was glad my sister asked me to make the pillowcases because it kind of gave me the kick in the pants I needed to get back here. My focus for Linus is getting the ones that are already quilted, bound and labeled and ready to turn in. And then I want to work on some personal stuff. I have some, so many personal things. Actually, I want to work on I want to get my Halloween quilt quilted before Halloween. I'm hoping by the end of this month. We'll see. The Project Linus Mystery Quilt is about to kick off again in another couple of weeks, I think, week and a half. I went ahead and signed up. I have no expectations. I don't expect to get anything made, but I'll follow along and download the clues, and hopefully at some point I'll have time to make it, if I like it, but we'll see. I won't probably be sewing along. So many like personal projects, and I already have so many Linus tops I need to quilt and so much fabric, because I can't stop bringing home fabric, that I need to get done. I got caught up. I watched all your videos until now, probably. So I'm glad I got to say hi. I'm going to try to do this more often. I'm probably not going to get to it every week, but I'd like to get maybe every other week at a minimum. So that's my goal. And I look forward to watching your videos, and I will see you hopefully soon. Bye! Salut.